There was a point in that fight I got bored. I'm the one with the belt. You're being super defensive, so yeah. But I wasn't trying. That's the thing. When Jan was doing that, I was kind of bored, to be honest. Are you gonna posture up or something? Try and punch me? You know, I was waiting for something. I've accomplished a lot, exceeded a lot of my goals, but I've written down new ones. I'm going back to my younger self.
Interesting. To a lot of fans who've watched long-reigning champions before, that looks like a red flag. A champion who's already gotten bored or lost motivation for some things. How many guys have we seen this happen to, right? GSP, Anderson Silva, Jon Jones, Jose Aldo. They've all even talked about it. This is actually sounding very similar to what happened to Anderson Silva. A lot of people throw around the comparisons to Anderson and Adesanya, but it's kind of strange because the first time we see Anderson bored in a fight was when he fought Patrick Cote. He was 32 years old. When Adesanya fought Blachowicz and even Vettori, he was also 32 years old. Patrick Cote was Anderson's 5th title fight. Jan Blachowicz was Adesanya's 5th title fight, or if you call it Marvin Vettori for the middleweight division, that was his 5th middleweight title fight. And at that stage, both guys could have performed a lot better than what they showed. For Anderson Silva, after the consistent, quote-unquote, boring performances, he fought Chael Sonnen and almost lost. He found that challenge he was looking for and almost paid for it. Who knows what happens here with Robert Whittaker? Who knows what happens in the near future with Israel Adesanya if he doesn't bring things back on track? This is not to say that Adesanya is going to fall victim to this as well, but it is a pattern that we have seen with long-reigning champions or guys who have cleared out their divisions. When they're on top for so long, you start to lose motivation. You don't have a goal anymore. Just constantly defend your belt and just chase money. There's nothing motivating, firing about it. There's nothing that excites you unless there's a fight itself, like a Chael Sonnen versus Anderson Silva, Jose Aldo versus Conor McGregor, Jon Jones versus Daniel Cormier. Unless there's some kind of rival that comes up. The thing with Adesanya is he doesn't have that guy yet. People thought it was going to be Paulo Costa, but he got wiped out easily. In his last 2 fights, Adesanya has said that he's gotten bored in both of them. Feeling like Vettori was trying to survive. It was Vettori's opportunity to take the belt away because, they fought before. Adesanya beat him before. It was up to Vettori as a challenger in a rematch to make something happen. When ultimately Adesanya felt like Vettori had nothing for him, and Vettori was staying a bit defensive at times, Adesanya got bored. And he said he got bored when Blachowicz, the bigger guy, was on top of him. I don't think it was fair for him to say that, Blachowicz wasn't trying to finish or trying to punch him or posture up. I mean, at the end of, I think it was the 4th or 5th round, Jan got into full mount and was raining down shots on him trying to finish. That's not a guy who's looking to just lay and pray. So the Vettori thing I can understand. Vettori's a challenger. He's got to make something happen. Adesanya is the champ. You got to take the belt away from the champ, man. You got to kill the king and take the crown. So that is understandable. He was able to do what he was able to do against Vettori and win the fight. But then when he fought Jan Blachowicz, remember, they were fighting for Blachowicz's title. Adesanya was a champ, but he was also a challenger for Jan's title. He had to make something happen in that fight to take the belt, snatch that status away from that champ. But then when things weren't going his way, he was on the bottom, he got taken down pretty easily. He said he got bored because Blachowicz didn't open himself up, I guess, or didn't posture up or make something happen, be offensive, try to finish the fight. Not even just open himself up for Adesanya to exploit, but just to make something happen. I don't understand that mindset right there because he's the challenger in that one. He should be the one that's trying to make something happen even though Blachowicz is on top of him. And Blachowicz tried to do some things. It wasn't just like he was laying there. And that was the one. When he mentioned the Blachowicz fight got on board, that there doesn't seem right. That looks like a red flag. On one hand, it is pretty crazy to hear that a fighter is getting bored to fight in a cage, one of the most adrenaline-inducing events you can ever take a part of. But at the same time, if he's actually being truthful in that he was bored in the fight, it looked like he kind of was because it didn't look like he put the same kind of effort in the second Vettori fight like he did in the first fight. Maybe he was just that many leagues ahead of him, but it doesn't matter at the end of the day. That's not good to hear from a champion. Honestly, when he says that about the Jan Blachowicz fight, I can believe him because the fight was also kind of slow. Adesanya wasn't taking the fight to Jan the same way the Vettori fight was playing out. But in my opinion, to me, it sounds like a bit of an excuse. He wasn't trying against Jan when it got to the ground. Jan wasn't doing anything and he was waiting for him to do something. Like, it sounds like a bit of an excuse because it was such a big opportunity for him. He was calling for this kind of fight for a long time. He wanted to be a 2-division champion. And by the way he's saying it, it sounds to me like he kind of just let it go away because he got bored. But at the same time, I can 100% believe him when he says that because we've seen this happen to many champions before. Heck, even Robert Whittaker said that he didn't care about holding the belt because there wasn't really like a goal after becoming champion. Now as a contender, he has something to chase. That's why, for example, Jose Aldo's fighting a lot differently these days. As a champion, Jose Aldo was just doing enough to win. He was known as a decision fighter. In the bantamweight division, not a champion anymore. He has a whole new motivation to him, man. After listening to Adesanya, my question is Adesanya slowly moving past the game? Is he slowly losing motivation? Because the guy's been fighting for such a long time. When you're a champ and you're fighting someone who's just trying to survive, isn't really doing anything in the fight. For an example, Charles Oliveira isn't going to let that guy slide and just survive. He's going to try to finish him off no matter what. Kamaru Usman does the same thing today. Petr Yan has no mercy for anybody, no matter what they're fighting like. And we don't even have to look at other champions. Adesanya did not fight that same way when he went up against Rob Wilkinson, his first fight in the UFC. Rob Wilkinson was looking to survive as well, and Adesanya was picking him apart. He did not let Wilkinson slide at all. Watch that fight and then watch him fight Vettori. Wilkinson was actually looking to survive a lot more than Vettori was. And Adesanya was a lot more aggressive to cause damage when he fought Wilkinson. Adesanya seems to have fallen into the same trend that a lot of long-time champions have fell into. GSP, Anderson Silva, John Jones, Jose Aldo. They started to just do enough to win the fight when the fight wasn't exciting for them. They were just doing enough to stay as the champ instead of risking anything like the younger champions do. When GSP was younger as a champ, he was trying to finish off fights. Anderson Silva, he was finishing off fights all the way to the end of his championship run. But there were some fights that reflected the mindset Adesanya just expressed right there. A lot of fans like to say that Adesanya is the next Anderson Silva. He's like the more advanced, newer, modern version of Anderson Silva. And Anderson had the same problem. He had the same boredom in some of his fights, and he was about the same age as Israel Adesanya when that happened. It was until he fought Chael Sonnen that turned things around for him, right? Because he almost lost his title, right? The Patrick Cote fight, the Talis Latis fight, the Damian Maia fight. It was consistent fight after fight in the middleweight division, defending his title, where he was consistently not trying in the fight. And it got worse and worse each time. And this is the kind of thing I hope doesn't happen to Adesanya. Because in the beginning, Silva was not showboating. When he fought Patrick Cote, he was kind of just like moving around, feeling out the fight until it was over. Talis Latis fight, similar kind of thing, a little bit more showboating, but not as much. Damian Maia fight, the third time, he took it to another level. And then the Chris Weidman fight took it beyond that level. He was waiting for that next big challenge. He fought Forrest Griffin. Forrest Griffin was another challenge that everybody was asking for. Griffin was a former champion. It was in the light heavyweight division back in the day. Everybody was asking for Anderson to jump up a division because he was so dominant in middleweight. He took that challenge. He finished off Forrest Griffin in fantastic fashion, came back down to middleweight. Boring fight with Damian Maia. Then he fought Chael Sonnen. That's where everything spun around for him, and he didn't have these performances anymore. He started to try to knock people out until he fought Chris Weidman and toyed around again. The thing with Adesanya is he's a very smart guy, right? He understands that he got bored. He understands these sort of things. He understands that he shouldn't fall into that. He shouldn't lose motivation. And that's why he mentioned that he has new goals. He's done so much in his career so far. Whatever new goal he has, now he has something to look forward to. But I hope he's not doing it for the sake so he doesn't lose motivation. And that he actually wants to do these things. Because Robert Whittaker has all the motivation in the world. He's not going to get bored no matter how this fight's going to play out. And it could be the same trend that happened with Anderson Silva. The next time after he got bored, he almost lost. Very similar thing happened with Israel Adesanya, and we're going to see what happens here with Robert Whittaker. And honestly, I don't blame him for saying that he's getting bored, because he's lapping these guys. He's going to have to fight everybody a second time. He just fought Vettori for the second time. Now he's fighting Whittaker for the second time. Next is going to be Brunson for the second time, if he wins against Whittaker. It's the same sort of challenge. So whatever goal he has now, it has to be very important for him to look past all this. And I hope it helps him, man. Because I don't want to see him, at this stage of his career, start to lose motivation, staying at the top like it's happened to a few other guys. It was going to be soon enough where a long-reigning champion is going to feel this way. For sure. It's happened to every single long-reigning champion. Every single one. I think maybe besides Demetrius Johnson, who had a lot to prove because of his weight class and nobody was really paying attention. So it wasn't necessarily the fight itself he had to be motivated about. It was just trying to break out and display what this division had to offer. Eventually, that came in the form of Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno that was able to really showcase that division for a whole new audience. But that's a little bit different for, Jose Aldo, GSP, Anderson Silva, John Jones, all these guys. They fell into that same mindset. I believe even Jose Aldo has mentioned it. GSP has definitely mentioned it. It comes to a time where you've been doing it so long. You've been on top for so long. Maybe the stress gets to you. There's no real goal anymore. Most of it now becomes about making money instead of actually chasing something that's ambitious. And like I said before, man, the thing with Israel Adesanya is he's lapping these guys. He's fighting them again. I don't blame him at this point of his career, him getting bored, because he's beaten everybody pretty much. It is like he's a long-reigning champion. And I wonder how this whole mindset, this whole dynamic here, is going to impact the next fight.